Welcome to Uzbexico. One more day of recording and enjoying the company of a good friend of mine. Today I get to talk a little bit with my good friend Tony Bittner. Welcome to Uzbexico, Tony.
Mateo?
Well, it's nice to have you. I think as we were talking before we were recording, it hit me that we've known each other for more than 20 years. I don't remember the actual year. So that was when we were working with Hewitt in Chicago. Both of us are no longer there in Chicago, but you still are working with this. Who are you working with?
Some version of the same company after all the mergers and divestitures, going
Mm-hmm.
from Hewitt to Aon Hewitt to Aon to
Yes.
now Alight, but still, a very closely related family member to that original business.
Right. So officially, you're with Alight.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Which is really a bulk of old school Hewitt. Really.
Yeah.
Aon bought Hewitt, and when they divested, the biggest chunk that they divested, which became Alight, were those previous Hewitt business lines. So it's like we've come
Uh-huh.
back home.
Yeah, that was a season. I don't know if I've even talked about that much on the podcast, but that was 9 years of my life working with Hewitt in customer service, and you and I were on the same team that you mentioned. What was that like? Not even maybe 8 people, 10 people. It was a small team. I mean, it wasn't.
I think 10 sounds right.
Yeah, compared to other teams that had, I don't know, 80 or even over 100 in some
Right.
cases.
We
Yeah.
were just helping Southern Company and Icon. Right
Mm-hmm.
next door
Yeah.
was Home Depot with their dozens and dozens and dozens of
Right.
people. Yeah.
Yep. And so we got to learn all about health benefits and 401ks and pensions and help people out with that, I guess. And also reset passwords for people who couldn't access their stuff online.
A lot of that. Yeah.
And my favorite was congratulating people when they had babies or when they were new employees
Right.
or also retirements. That was fun to process that. I think the harder part was deaths in the family, or especially tragic sudden deaths of younger people in the families and stuff. That
Yeah, we
was part of
did.
the work.
We did get to experience a lot of the highs and a lot of the lows that folks
Yeah.
had to deal with from
Yep.
from a relational perspective, a financial perspective.
Yeah.
It was a lot, and it was eye-opening, educational for sure.
Yeah. For sure. Now, in customer service, we do a lot of our work where we're talking with the people, but then we can handle things on the phone, but sometimes we can't, and so we say, well, let me get back to you, and I'll call you in a couple of days. But then we send the issue to another team that looks at stuff. And so I think that was your next move is to join that kind of a team that was behind the scenes doing more of the administrative work, not directly talking to customers, right?
Yeah, I was in shared services, and
Mm-hmm.
I was an analyst for the billing team, the folks that bill their clients.
Okay, yeah.
So
So,
that was super exciting for I think 5 years I did that, and then uh, my boss in that space was asked to temporarily slide over and help a new business that the company had acquired, and
mhm.
eventually he was permanently poached, and he said, "Hey, come over here and help me tame this space." Right? It was a business
Mhm.
that was really just a family-owned small business out of San Francisco.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot of structure and governance and efficiency and controls and things like that. So he brought me over, and that's part of the business I have been in since the end of 2010.
Oh wow. Okay. So you did customer service just what 3 4 years,
Two
and then you
years, 2 years, almost exactly.
really wow.
hmm
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've been
Um.
with I mean, in short, the retiree. Exchange. So, big
Mm-hmm.
companies, AT&T, Target, um, companies like that who have health care plans for their retirees. A lot of these
Mm-hmm.
companies will manage healthcare for the active employees, and there is a trend to move away from doing that for retirees instead of saying, hey, you get to choose from, you know, insurance company A. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll send you to the exchange, where you can shop between hundreds of carriers and a bunch of different plans, and we'll give you um, a stipend to pay for it. So the administration of that retiree health care wasn't, housed within those companies. They
Mm-hmm.
they sourced it over to us. So
Yeah.
a lot of, I mean, the focus is helping these retirees navigate a very scary space for them,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Healthcare as a retiree, in most cases, just skyrockets in terms of importance and lots of changes they're going through. So our
Right.
focus has always been on doing everything we can to help them um, land softly and safely
Mm-hmm.
in that space.
Mm-hmm.
We want it to be the least of their worries. So
Yeah.
a lot of the growth for me has been as a people leader, um,
Mm-hmm.
as a communicator, as a person who builds relationships. I mean, that's my
Mm-hmm.
philosophy has always been, take care of the people, and those people will help you take care of the business, right? It's
Right.
about
Right.
those humans first. Um, so it's been a lot of me getting to that mindset. It's been a lot of me mentoring new leaders to make sure they approach everything from that mindset. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for me, life is relational.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love people, and it's not always hard to bring your true self into a corporate environment. And you know me, I've got opinions, and I'm not
You do.
afraid to let them out. Um, but I also have, like so many people, imposter syndrome, right? Like I went to school to learn how to sing pretty, how to write pretty, how to
Mm-hmm.
teach students how to play instruments pretty. Um,
Uh-huh.
so it is often felt like,
Yeah.
oh goodness, I don't belong here. But a mentor of mine sent me a book once called A Peacock in the Land of Penguins, which
Okay.
which is, it's like one of those corporate fable books, like Who Moved My Cheese or something like that.
Mm. Yeah.
But it is about bringing your authentic self to the table and tapping into what makes you uniquely qualified to be in the space you're in, no matter what it is. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's probably the biggest area of growth that I experienced, is not being afraid to bring my authentic self and my authentic opinions
Yeah.
um, to that space, and be a people forward, relationship forward leader.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about the music. So as soon as I met you, I think early on, you were, like you mentioned, you were doing these shows. I think you must, back in those times, you were doing maybe two a year or something like that. You would set up an evening with friends and musicians and just sing. And you you had, I don't know, but at least back in those days, you never recorded an album. You had some issues, I think, with your vocal cords, and I can't remember all the details
Yeah,
about all
I,
that.
s- I,
But
I started to record an album, and I took a leave of absence from work to focus on the
yeah,
album. And
yep,
in the middle of it, my vocal cords just started to deteriorate.
hmm,
Um, and they never came back to a healthy enough spot where I could pick up those pieces and finish it.
hmm,
Which,
yeah,
oof, there was. it took me a long time, Mateo, to deal with that pain and process it and even, you
Yeah.
know, own that it existed. Um,
Yeah. Well, I remember you just talking about just dreaming about doing more with music and singing and go, that having that evolve into something greater, and especially having had all the training you had and everything. So yeah, I'm sure it was a reshifting of your mindset and your heart.
yeah, I mean, after that, didn't, I didn't do a show, I think, for, I think it was 7 years. I was just in such a rut.
Mm.
Um, I would still sing at home, sit at the piano. I would do a guest spot here and there in someone else's show, but never got back on that stage, which was, I don't know. I won't say that it was silly. I needed it, and I was doing sold out shows, so why not get back there? But it took me a good long while to have the confidence and and desire even
Hmm.
to get back in that space. And my pianist and the same friend who I worked with at Roosevelt, he knew it was something that my soul needed. I'm convinced of, and he had an idea for a show and just said, "Hey, help me just think through this, right? We're just going to do a workshop. I'm going to ask a bunch of people to come and do a really loose show based on this theme. Um, no pressure. Invite some people if you want, or don't." And
Hmm.
I did, and it was fine. And right away, it was like, "Hey, after that performance, let's work on how this show could be more refined." Just, because it excited me. I didn't have any intention of doing anything with it myself. And then that turned into a really refined version with a really specific cast. Did really well in Chicago. We took it to New York City and we sold it out there. And he knew that's all I needed. From there, I was back in the game and put on put on the shows again. And those shows, as you know, were always a mix of my creative writing and my singing,
Hmm.
because they were really, some people see it as like stand up meets music, right? Like I was
Hmm.
telling stories. The
Yeah.
shows always had some sort of connectivity and theme. So I'd tell stories related to that theme and choose
Yeah.
music that helped tell those stories as well. A lot of times from a humorous perspective. Um, and those stories I told were actually adapted from essays that I had written, personal essays. Um, and in those 7 years or so in between, like there was a lot of story to tell. So it
Yeah.
felt very natural and uh, energizing, I think, to be back in that space. I didn't realize the darkness that I was actually living in absence of um, tapping into really what I think is what is intended for me, and what what opens my soul up to the universe. Not to get too hippy dippy on it, but it was powerful to be back in that space and feel that kind of love and energy again.
Yeah. That's cool. We've talked about what you do at work and your love of music, and then now put some structure around that, and just from birth till today, like take your time and tell us the story of your life. How would you tell someone who doesn't know you the story of your
Story
life?
of my life. Uh, uh, in my brain, I start singing the first line of "A Change Is Gonna Come" by Sam Cooke. I was born on a river. But I was born in Saginaw, Michigan, uh,
Yeah.
birthplace of Stevie Wonder. Madonna
Nice.
was born just 15 minutes away in Bay City. A lot, as you know, a lot of great musicians from Michigan, but was born there in Saginaw. Um, I am of mixed race. My mom is of German descent, largely, some other things mixed in there. Um, I was too young to know, but only knew my black father for the first couple of those years, and then wouldn't know him again for 36 more years. So that's a big fast forward. But grew up with my mom in a family with her six, I think altogether, uh, six brothers and sisters. Um, so I was this brown boy living in a very white town once we moved a little bit of ways. A very white family, not having any connection to my black side, but music was a big part of everything. I remember sitting at the organ with my mom when I was little. She and I used to love listening to the Jackson Five, uh, even watching the old Jackson Five trippy cartoon show when I was a kid.
Okay.
We loved Elvis. My grandmother and I um, would, you know, would listen to and watch all the Elvis movies, Mary Poppins, Sound of Music, all the that stuff. Music was always a part of my life, so that's a big thing.
Hmm.
Um, High school came around, and I decided I wanted to learn how to play an instrument, learned how to play the trumpet and some other brass instruments, and stumbled into singing. Um, Studied all those things in college that I spoke about, vocal performance, instrumental education, creative writing. Um, Moved to Chicago, tried to tap into that, singing and teaching it while I was doing the corporate gig alongside you. Um, and I think that me getting back into music in my last few years in Chicago really, like I said, opened up my soul and my spirit, and was a critical thing that I think, I don't know if you know how hippy dippy spiritual I am, but I think it was because I opened up that energy that Kelly, um, uh, the person that I am here in Charlotte because of, came back into my life. Right out of college, I was working as a hotel manager, and she worked for me there, and we were fast friends and stayed friends for a long time, and gradually faded. That friendship faded when we moved to different areas. Um, and then she reached out mid COVID just to see how an old friend was doing. Um, and I think that my vibrations in the universe, because I was doing something that made me happy again, sort of helped to make that happen. So now I'm here. Um, the only thing that I would add to that is that this entire journey has been a really, gosh, I don't even know what to call it, Mateo, in terms of race, ethnicity, um, connectivity to soul, spirit, ancestry. It's been really challenging, right? In high school, I dated girls who got um, kicked out of their homes for dating a brown person. Um, had a good family friend. Whenever they went on vacation, I would stay at their house as a high schooler, watch their dogs, water their plants. When me and their daughter started dating, we're like, sorry, nope, that's not okay. Um, in college, I fell head over heels for my first crush on a black woman. But for her, I was too white. So it's this life of me
Okay.
being too
Yeah.
black for some, too white for others.
Hmm.
Um, and then even coming here to Charlotte and having this close relationship with this family here. And Kelly has three kids. They're all about to turn in July. They'll turn 15. No. yeah, 15, 13, and 9. Um, all all very white children. And when we are together, just me without Kelly, you know, there's a lot I've learned from people's reaction to a brown man being with these kids. So that has been a big part of my life, and
Yeah.
influential in my politics and my faith, and even writing for Brownicity, which is that anti-racism nonprofit. So I
Hmm.
think that is a music, culture, race, social justice, I think are major themes in my life. I know that wasn't the 2 minute version, but forgive me.
You did great. You did like 6 or 7 minutes. That was great. Thank you. Um, well, yeah, and I think I learned a thing or two. So thank you for sharing it. I know sometimes there's parts of our stories that are more vulnerable than others, and so thank you for just being willing to share a bit there. Um, I think Tony, and well, just about you. I don't know if it was your email that you had back then, but you were too Tony, and so you you brought in, your name is Tony, and you brought in the humor even to that, and in a way maybe of lightening up a reality that at times was painful, but at times is also
Yeah.
just that's me, that's who I am,
That
that's my
came from
story.
my friends in junior high. They jokingly would call me Two Tone Tony. Uh, and,
With the music
uh,
in there too.
right.
Yeah.
That was 100% intentional on their part because of our combined love of music.
Yeah.
And then that eventually shortened, and it just became Two Tony, which had a ring for it, and it's still a moniker that I reference and use today.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite fruit?
Oh, geez. Um, I love a good mango.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Why would I be forced to choose?
Sweet or salty?
I mean, have you ever had chocolate covered caramels with sea salt flakes on top? Again, why be forced to choose? See, this goes all back
Coffee,
to two Tonys, like best of both.
coffee or tea? Mix them, right?
Coffee every morning, tea before every show that I sing.
Coke or Pepsi?
Neither.
Neither.
It's
Okay.
poison.
Beach or mountain?
I'm probably giving you the worst answers. My soul is at home by the ocean, but geez, oh Pete's, do I love a good hike through the mountains.
Um, okay. How about winter or summer? Then you'll say fall
I
or
am
spring.
going to say, particularly here, I mean, I love summer, but winter without the beauty of snow is pointless.
Okay. All right. In another life, I would be.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Um, in another life, I would either be some beach dwelling person, uh, or I would live my entire life in music. I those are the two places that electrify my soul. So I know that in another life, those things were important. I'm sure I was a coastal being of some sort.
Okay. Um, a favorite historical person?
Oh goodness. Um, you know, in terms of music and race, I mean, Sam Cooke, Sammy Davis Jr., Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole, all these people that have broke a lot of barriers through music. That stuff sort of fascinates me, using a very universal language to gain leverage and make change. Those would be folks I would love to have had
Hmm.
a breadth of time with.
So, if I ask you, who would you like to interview? Would that be your answer, or well, would that change?
Um, well, if I had a time machine and I could, they would be high on my list
Yeah.
for for sure. But if I had to be somebody living, I would be fascinated to interview Michelle Obama. I don't know her, but I adore her from afar. I think it would be really interesting.
Okay. Um, if let's see, what place do you want to visit?
Um, I would love. I've never outside of Hawaii, I've never been to any like tropical um island
Hmm.
nation, and because my soul feels at home on the ocean, like I visited Ireland, and even though that's much different than something tropical, just being there as a little
Yeah.
island felt pretty special. But I would I would love to visit somewhere in the Caribbean.
Hmm. Okay. Um, do you have a favorite series?
A favorite television series?
Yeah.
Um, the the two that I have watched more than any, like all the way through multiple times, uh, The West Wing, because you know I enjoy politics,
Hmm.
and Friday Night Lights. I'm also a sucker for any sort of inspirational sports movie or sports TV show, even
Hmm.
though I do not watch actively any sport. The
Yeah.
the movies about them, I'm a goner. I'll see them all.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Um, as to movies, a favorite movie of yours?
Um, Probably the movie I've seen more than any is Remember the Titans, another inspirational sports movie
Yep.
with Denzel. It's got all the things. It's got great music. It's got that inspirational sports timeline, and it's got a big old lens on social justice there. So that
Yeah.
no shame, I can't get enough.
Yeah. Um, is math blue or red?
Is math blue or red?
Yes.
Math as in numbers and equations? Wow. It resonates blue for me right now,
Okay.
but I'm not
I was kind of
convinced.
I was kind of expecting a purple,
Purple.
but but you said blue first. Okay.
You could ask me tomorrow, and I might say gray. I don't know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. What would you do with $10 million?
Oh gosh. I mean, I so much. I mean, I would want to take care of my family, but there are so many nonprofits that I would either like to start or be active with in that way, from animal welfare to social justice and human welfare,
Yeah,
the environment. Like I would be like, logistically, how much time and money could I spend in all this philanthropic stuff and still, you know, be able to care for myself until I die, you know?
yeah,
I dream about that more than one probably should. Like, gosh, I wish I could win the lottery and address this. I'd call
this.
it an
Hmm.
opportunity instead of an issue. I like that
Yeah.
positive framing. But
Hmm.
yeah. There's my
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah. If you could call someone and tell them I love you right now, who'd you call?
So many people, but I'd start with my mom.
Well done. Uh, here's something else I want to say. When we met, I guess I was at a stage in my life where I was a young adult, recently married. I guess by the time we met, I had at least one child, maybe two. Yeah, I remember one of the things that I loved about you, Tony, is how as we started talking about stuff and politics, and you do have strong opinions, and they're well formed. I was impressed by how different we were, but how patient you were with me in hearing me out and not reacting like I had been used to.
Mm,
I think my framework had been very much a us and them, or it's this group and this group, and as opposed to there are many groups and there are many angles and many there's a lot of perspectives and I think you were among the different number of people, but you were someone who during this I don't know a span of some years just made me realize, you know what? It's good to engage with others who I don't agree with fully, but who really are there because of a reason. And there's a I don't know. You made it good to converse and to engage and to yeah. I remember. So when we met, it was 2004 elections was a big topic because it was in the fall of 2004, and so yeah, we uh, had a lot of conversations about that. And yeah, over the years, I've I guess I've had my own world broadened and opened up. I've taken a few steps back and from some stronger convictions I had as a younger adult, and yeah, I think I see more color in the world than I did. So I appreciate your part in that in my story. It was a good season, so it's good.
I
I'm
will
just glad for
say
that.
I agree. Very, very grateful um, that the universe brought us to the same time and place. I mean, that you've had some big influence on me as well. Your whole family is. I still think about your babies a
Hmm.
lot, and just those handful times of I babysat that I loved so much. I still, to this day, you introduced me as we introduced each other to a lot of music. Um, Raul Miron, and I
Yeah.
sitting in the middle is still one of those
Oh.
songs that I haven't always been so graceful in terms of refraining from otherism that you were alluding to before, right? Like
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
I do think that I have always approached life in terms of relationship, um, and and building relationships and connectivity, no matter who you are. But it's not always easy. You
Yeah.
you definitely, your I think thoughtful, reflective energy is one that I think you have plenty of. Um, Made it easy. Not everybody does, but that sitting in the middle, um, it grounds me and makes me look around. And there are plenty of friends that I don't always agree with, um, on a range of topics, and there is always a way to find, you know, the love between y'all. You made that
Yeah.
super easy, so you know.
Thank you, Tony.
But
Appreciate that.
what if I don't want to be done, Mateo? Has anybody ever protested the end?
Yeah, no, not like you just did. um,
Well, I
what
definitely
else? What else would you
protest,
want to
but also
say that
respect your boundaries.
what else do you want to say that I haven't asked you? No time limit.